The city has come out with an action plan for a new campaign to help Boston's Black and Latino males, part of President Obama's effort called My Brother's Keeper. The goal is to help close gaps in education and opportunities with the help of 1,000 mentors. To talk about the city's report on the campaign is Mayor Walsh's Chief of Human Services, Felix Arroyo. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
First of all, talk about the goals of this program, because this is not just about keeping somebody out of trouble.
No, it's not. That's an important component to it. My Brother's Keeper is an initiative that President Obama is trying to move nationally, but he's doing it with mayors, with cities. One of the first conversations that Mayor Walsh had with President Obama, the president specifically asked him, would he participate in My Brother's Keeper? Mayor Walsh not only said he would, but he pledged that Boston would be one of the leading cities. My Brother's Keeper, what it is looking at the obstacles in the lives of Black and Latino men and boys and working to eliminate them. Why Black and Latino men and boys? All of the data points that we look at, whether it's educational attainment, economic developments, criminal justice, violence, public health, Black and Latino men and boys are on the wrong side of every question. So we cannot deny that there's a problem there, and we have to look at how to remove obstacles and instead create opportunities. That's what My Brother's Keepers is. When the mayor got in, he asked myself to co-chair it along with John Barrows as Chief of Economic Development. It's a real one of the things I'm most proud of working on in the city, and one of the things that I think will really set the tone for this administration around working to remove opportunities in those who are underserved in our city. Well,
talk about what's missing in your life, because that's what this program's about. You're trying to provide a missing piece.
Yeah, so where there's data that shows that middle class and up families, their children have more enrichment opportunities, for instance, after school opportunities. Parents who can afford to pay for a piano instructor, for instance, well, that child will get that. Parents who can afford to pay for a summer camp, that child will get that. We know that Black and Latino families economically are much more lower income, and many living in poverty here in our city. And so we're looking at how do we eliminate those obstacles, understanding that money is a barrier. So part of the plan that we released includes conversations around how do we increase after-school learning with our community partners and in our community centers. We want to do a strategic plan for all 35 of our community centers to make sure that they're serving the needs of everyone who lives in Boston, and especially those who would not get those needs met anywhere else. We're looking at employment numbers and making sure that people have opportunities to work. For folks like myself, who I've never gotten in trouble in the sense that I don't have a Corey, but folks who do. The mayor started a program called Operation Exit for mostly men. They end up being mostly men of color coming out of the jail system who have said, I want to turn my life around. He helps get them jobs on the trades. So, we're looking at what's missing in people's lives, and we're trying to find ways to connect those dots for them so that they can eventually help themselves, and we could turn around these statistics and make sure that Boston is really the city we know it can be, which is a city that everyone has real access to opportunities.
The mayor's chief of economic development, John Barrows, he put it this way. He said these are young people who deserve to be loved, and I guess they're not getting enough of that, maybe.
Yeah, and where that theme for MBK, My Brother's Keeper, came from. There's a young man by the name of Malachi Hernandez. He's 17 years old. He goes to Boston Academy, and he's a part of the My Brother's Keeper initiative for this city. All of our subcommittees have young people on them. He happens to be on the workforce development subcommittee with John, and Malachi is a real star. Grew up in a home where this is his story, not mine, but he shared it publicly. Grew up in a home where he watched his mom be a victim of domestic violence. He had to see that. Then his father left, and he didn't have a father in his life. Had his mom sort of struggling. There's four boys in that family, and growing up in Upham's Corner, it's like this is a story that's all too common in communities of color. And now he's at Latin Academy, getting great grades, moving forward. Just the other day, Malachi is sitting on a panel with President Obama himself, where when the president looked at him and said, Malachi, what do we need to do? Malachi's answer was, well, everyone deserves to be loved. That's what this is really about. And that's one of the things now that Malachi, as a young person, brought to My Brother's Keeper initiative. And now it's in the language that you hear me and John and others speak about. And the way to think about it is Cornell West, the professor once said, justice is what love looks like when it's shown in public. We want to just make sure that we live in a city that is just, in a city that is fair. And that means everyone should have access to opportunities. That's what My Brother's Keepers is. And the report we released on just this Saturday gives really concrete examples of things that we intend to do as a city with our partners, clergy, nonprofits, private sector, to help eliminate obstacles, create opportunities. The idea being that when you link opportunities with equity, when you link opportunities with access, you end up getting equity.
The mayor said he really wants to make sure this is different from what's been tried before. Where do you expect to see the difference in a dramatic way?
You know, this report by itself is inherently different. One, we have a mayor of a major city standing on a stage and committing in front of hundreds of people to do work specifically for those most underserved in our city. That's already a very drastic and powerful, the symbolism there is very powerful and strong. The report not only gave over 20 different recommendations of work we're going to do, it also explained the action item behind it, how we were going to move that recommendation forward, and it explained how we're going to measure it. Mayor Walsh believes very much in having data-driven work. It's a real theme in how we do our work at City Hall. The belief being that if you can't measure it, then you can't manage it, and if you can't manage it, then you can't speak to its deficiencies, its success, and whether or not it's working. And so we have recommendations, actions assigned to them, and an explanation of how we're going to measure its success and therefore know if what we're doing is actually working.
Well, it seems you've already planned for there being things that are beyond the capabilities of any mentor, even the best mentors. So let's say if you have a young person who's got a trauma issue, then you're ready to step in and do something.
Mm-hmm. And the mentoring piece that you speak of is only one of the 20 some odd recommendations. One of the things birthed out of My Brother's Keeper and now really operating on it sort of as its own campaign within City Hall is the Mayor's Mentoring Movement. We had committed to finding 1,000 new mentors over the next 2 years in Boston. Many of the organizations that do mentorship says there's no lack of mentees. There's hundreds upon hundreds of young people looking for a mentor. They're on waiting lists. The mayor decided the way to help was to recruit the adults to serve that child. We thought we'd do 1,000 in 2 years as an ambitious goal. In fact, I was a little nervous that maybe we won't hit that number. We hit over 700 in 4 months, have signed up and expressed their interest in mentoring and now going through the process of becoming mentors. That's one of the things. You speak now of trauma. The city has thousands upon thousands of young people that work for us in the summer. They all have supervisors. We're going to start training them in trauma-informed practices so that they could recognize it, spot it, and then know what resources are available. The mayor has put money in the budget for community health centers to help with trauma in neighborhoods. Our health centers, we have 23 of them in every neighborhood in Boston, and for many neighborhoods, the safest place to be at. They spot it, they have their patients, they can see it, and we're asking them to play a role with us. So it's these public-private partnerships that I think will make a difference.
And you're looking out for job opportunities too for these
Oh,
people.
absolutely. One of the recommendations is not only around young people getting work, it's around what are the job opportunities for people who may have made a mistake in their life, as I explained, Operation Exit. We're going to start sending out surveys. John Barros is very much active on this with our private sector here in the Boston area and asking them very directly, what are your employment statistics? Are you hiring people from these communities? The mayor is putting his own money where his mouth is, in that he released to the public a report on the diversity at City Hall and has stated very high goals as to where he wants to end up by the end of his time as mayor. And he's hit some of those already. He said he wanted his cabinet to reflect the city and be half people of color. It is. He said he wanted the command staff at the police department to be half people of color. It is. Are we done? We're not. And now he's saying, now that we got these top levels, we're going to start going down and making sure that people who live in the city have same access to jobs as anyone else. He's doing it in the public sector, and he's asking our private sector partners to do the same.
I know you're still looking for at least a few more mentors, so if they want to find out, what's the best way to follow up?
So whether you want to be a mentor or want to participate in My Brother's Keeper in any way, we ask that you do. There's two ways of reaching us. It's either online, so you can reach us at cityofboston.gov/MBK. So again, that's cityofboston.gov/MBK. Or you could just call my office at 617-635-1845.